Take 2 golf balls like this. I want to chip both golf balls and get both of them up in the air.
I'm using the sole of the club.
Yes.
Sometimes it makes more sense to use the front edge of the
Absolutely.
club. But I never really want to let the club bounce off the ground. And I'd say hand it to the guy on your left. Boom. And guess where he's at? He's rotated, he's on his left side. Golf swing, short game, right?
Mm. Here. Look at that
Perfect.
thing. There it is, right?
So watch, here, let me give you a little system. So it's pretty simple. That's one thing as you get older, you just try to get simpler. Chipping, this is super simple. Butt of the golf club in front of the golf ball, no more, right?
Love that.
I don't want to get the shaft like this because then the leading edge is going to dig, right? So butt of the golf, chipping, butt of the golf club in front of the golf ball. Pitching, butt of the golf club even with the back of the golf ball. Now the shaft's neutral, right? It's got about 6 degrees of forward lean here. Wherever and that's why we say stand to the handle, I can't stand to it unless it's in place. So if I put the handle in place, I know where I belong. Butt of the golf club points to my middle, and then actually what I do in lob is I lower the handle. That's a way.
Exactly.
That's a way to get a little more loft on the club and not have the club too far to the right. So, you know, you see good players, and this in the bunker too, like a really high short shot, they'll get the handle nice and low. That puts a ton of loft on the face, widen the stance a little bit. But guess what? I'm still standing to the handle. Okay. And then, this is kind of cool too. So chipping, I've learned a lot about kind of the wrist positions. Okay, so ulnar flexion is when you go like this. If I hit a nail with a hammer, my wrist would go into ulnar. Okay, neutral would be right there, and radial would be right here. Right. So if I stand for chipping, I move it forward, but I also move it up a little bit.
Ulnar.
Right. So now I'm in ulnar. Right. So it's a lot easier to kind of hinge my hands this way from ulnar. Pitching, I'd be
more
in neutral,
right?
Right. Lob, I'd be in radial.
So funny.
Right? So now I can get, if I'm radial there, it's much easier to get radial on this side and then keep it on this side.
So chipping, more.
So we got the shaft up.
Up.
Now your wrist is more in ulnar. So that makes it a lot easier to kind of go that way, right?
Yep.
And then all you got to do is turn the corner, like use your chest to deliver the club, right?
Okay.
Boom. And then pitching, now we're going to go to neutral. The shaft, like chipping was up here, right? Pitching is right there. Now it makes it much easier to go get that face.
It's like naturally going to go there almost. It's really,
And then whatever I do on this side, I got to come around the corner and have the same action on this side.
Okay, love that.
And now let's do lob. Let's get in radial, right?
Yep.
Now this is already cupped, so it's easy, exactly. And now I got to get rid of it.
And they get on this side too.
Right?
It's awesome.
Right, whatever I've done on this side, it needs to be a mirror. We've talked about that in the video we did in the past, right? Like, if I set my wrist, it looks like that on this side, it better look the same way on this side.
Exactly.
If I want to pitch the ball, my wrist or my palm is more to the horizon, I should be matched up to the horizon this side. If I'm hitting a lob shot and my palm is more to the sky, it should be more to the sky on this side. So
exactly
I'm always
right.
trying to match up on both
I
sides.
remember you used to teach me that.
Yeah.
Kev, look at this real quick. You know, like here he's talking about for that chip. Look at the club face here. Get in there close. You know, watch. Like, look at my club face. There's like 0 rotation on that, right? It's looking at the ball the whole time, and it comes right back looking at the golf ball on the way through. You know, you look at that pitch shot that he was talking about. Well, yeah, I'm going to let it, you know, swing open a little more naturally here.
Right. Your hand's going to rotate this way. Right.
And there it goes. There's the pitch right there.
Right.
And then the big thing is, you know, if we're hitting the higher soft, I mean, real high, right? Look at this. This is going to be, and what I do, I always remind people, that nice weak right hand grip, kind of like you're wringing out a towel, you guys.
Yeah, when you're trying to hit a lob shot.
Absolutely.
Or bunker shot, right?
Opens that face right up. Yep. And that was much more of what I showed just before there. That's my right hand on top. I'm letting that face continuously open up here, and that's this shot right here. Prior to hitting the shot.
Perfect. Yep.
What, if anything, has changed over the years with the way that you teach the short game?
Evolved, right?
Evolved,
I don't think it's changed so much as, you know, we talked about power earlier, right? Ground up, like I have a top down coil, and then I have a ground up uncoil, right? So I'm pushing against the ground for power. Well, when I have finesse, you know, around the green, I don't need power from the ground.
Okay.
So what I think about, like I do this all the time. When I did these schools, I'd have 10 people, I'd get them all in a line, I'd have a bucket of water, right? And I'd set a guy up like this, and I'd say, hand it to the guy on your left. Boom. And guess where he's at? He's rotated, he's on his left side.
Oh, that's good.
So
yeah.
if I lead with my body, like in the golf swing, right, what would you do? You'd spill the
go
water,
this way, dump
right?
out. It was just...
So when people have the same sequence in the full swing.
I love that. Wait, so it's just yeah, because I mean, think about it. It would have to be like this.
Yep, so I don't spill the water, right? So just getting people to learn how to rotate, and obviously I'm getting a little taller. That's not something you think about. I hear that on the internet. It's like, you got to get taller through the ball. No one's thinking about getting taller through the ball.
Right.
They're just getting to their left side. So that's a response. But that's very different than spilling the water, where I would get lower.
That's
Power
big.
sequence, finesse sequence.
Exactly.
Completely different, right?
Dad always just said, he goes, listen, man, you're going to be far more successful keeping your lower body in cement around the greens than not. And I'm telling you right now, to this day, I feel like my lower body is in cement. And, you know, when I rotate this, will this give a little?
Sure.
Absolutely. The longer I go back with the upper body, will this give a little? Yes. But I'm not laterally moving with the lower body. It's a slight rotation, but it's coming mainly from my upper
top.
body.
I'll take some alignment rods, put one through the belt, one through the chest, and I'll show people, look, at golf swing, that rod's gonna open up, this one's gonna stay square.
See that, guys? We talk about this all the time.
Short game, right? It's gonna move, but it moves in response to the turn. The chipping would be the chest rotates.
And then this almost stayed more
this
way.
So this stays this way until I get to a point where it responds.
Absolutely.
So that's top-down sequence. The rotation starts from the top, not from the bottom.
People are trying to drive that motion from here around the green. And
because, well, you know why? It's because we teach them that, and they don't understand, well, there's a difference. There's finesse and there's power.
What's the big mistakes that you see of all the players you've worked with? Because you're a short game expert. So.
Low point.
Low point.
Right? So, you know, if the low point, you know, people talk about, well, I should be steep or I should be shallow. Well, define that for me. What I would tell you about no matter what is that the bottom of your golf swing better be in front of the golf ball, right? So if I've got a tight lie, you know, I'm gonna have enough angle to get to it, but I got to have the bottom in front of the golf ball. So people that kind of back up on it, you know, anytime people are trying to hit a lofted shot, that's where we really got to be careful because they try to loft it with their body.
Exactly right.
Right? And you've got to learn to loft it with, that's what loft is for.
Now, one thing Todd also taught me was the top of my pendulum. Okay, we talked about the not backing up. The one analogy I like to have is nose and sternum are the top of my pendulum, right? If I'm backing that up, well, look what the bottom of my swing does.
Yeah.
You know, and one thing that I think has always been very helpful to me is just the basics of if I'm struggling, if I have a real tight lie, I'm just putting my nose and sternum up ahead of the ball.
In front of the ball.
And I'm just leaving that darn thing there, and I'm just trying to clip that thing just like that.
Yeah.
And that always gave me that good contact. But big things to take away, guys. You know, the setup's incredibly important. You know, we see this a lot. You know, making sure we're, you know, on top of it more. The shoulders are much more level, you know, and making sure that we understand where that low point is. You know, a visual I always like to give people, I thought this was always kind of a fun one. I used to take 2 golf balls like this, and I move them right here. And here's the reality of this. I want to chip both golf balls and get both of them up in the air. Okay. Yeah. So the whole point being there is I'm trying to essentially get past this first one to the second one, okay? And I put them a little bit close. It's a cool visual when you get it right. But long story short, say the other ball's there. You know what? The contact with that first one is, I mean, hear how perfect that contact was right there? Yeah. I was literally, come on, do it. Oh, I was swinging to that second ball that was up ahead of it. And you know what the funny thing is? It's the same thing with the mindset in the swing. Kevin just put up a great video talking about low point in the swing, understanding that 7-iron average on the PGA Tour is a good 4 inches past that ball. And one thing that I see that pros do that amateurs are very scared of, they open the face. Pros are not afraid. I mean, you guys look at me here. You know, zoom in. You'll see that face is open. One thing that I was really helped to understand, though, is that when that face is that open, I can swing in a straight line, and the ball is going to ride up and go in the direction that I'm swinging.
Right.
It's not like I need to be aiming over here into the, you know, the guy in the sand here with the leading edge over there, swing towards him, and the ball will go towards him.
Right.
So that's the one thing I think people get very misaligned a little bit as a result of that as well.
I can't stand the word bounce. It's like bounce means
totally agree.
Bounce. The ball's bounce. I don't want a club to bounce off the ground. So why would I want to use the bounce? I always tell people, like, pay attention to the part of the club that we're using. Sometimes I'm using the sole of the club.
Yes.
Sometimes it makes more sense to use the front edge of the
Absolutely.
club. But I never really want to let the club bounce off the ground. That doesn't make any sense to me. So, you know, then it's just a matter of the lie. If I've got a hard, you know, lie that's underneath the golf ball, like say cart path.
Yeah.
Right. Well, if I come to this and I start using the back edge, the club's going to bounce onto the
up
golf
on the
ball.
ball.
So I want the club coming in with a little bit of angle where I can kind of, like you said, shave the back off the ball.
Exactly. One thing that I've done to help a player get out of that chipping yips, the pre-shot routine is very important. Understanding low point with a count is very important. So one thing I do is I will draw an imaginary line from the back of the ball right to my feet. I set the club in there and I count 1, 2. Look where the grass flew, guys. On the left side, on this side of that line. 1, 2. I get in there one more time. 1, 2. And I get in here again, and I just recreate, and that was great contact there, recreate the exact same feeling. That's been a routine that I've seen help a lot of players, because one thing about chipping is it's until you're comfortable. You know, I might be doing the same things in the same spots, but even for me, sometimes I'm like 1 and I take the 1 and I'm like, I just feel it. And I step right in and it's like, there it is. Committed. I'm committed. I'm already checked in mentally. Other times, you know what? It's like, this is not the lie I like right now. And I got to feel it bottom my swing 6, 7, 8 times before I hit the shot. When you know those things and you know the variables that hit it higher and hit it lower and hit it, you know, you can kind of mix and match certain things to match the shot, right? And get creative.
Right.
And that's one thing, you know, I look at a shot and I see what's necessary and I just can picture the ball in the way it needs to, you know, fly, land, and then react.
Yeah.
And it's funny, I match the club face and my ball position and my weight according to that.
You said that perfectly. So I always tell people, once you get a good technique, you know, you've got to really turn on the imagination. So when you look at a shot, there's 3 things you're supposed to look at. You're imagining the trajectory, right? I'm imagining the landing spot, and then I'm imagining the rollout. And so then I back into the shot. So trajectory, landing spot, release. Then I back into the technique that I need to create the shot that my mind sees, right? And then the most important thing is commitment. You know, when I see people over the golf ball and they're like, I don't know if I'm chipping, I don't know if I'm pitching, I'm like, I don't know is not a good strategy.
Right. It's like I used to tell people, you know, the kids would tell me, I'm nervous. I'm like, well, I'm nervous. It's not a swing thought.
Yeah,
you know?
that's right.
So, but you know what's funny about that is what he just said, I do work my way back. Now that I think about it, I'm kind of putting myself in there. I really look at it and I go, well, hey, this is what needs to happen based upon what I'm seeing here in this lie. And then I'm setting my golf club and myself accordingly to that.
But keep this in mind. You're an elite player, and you've developed the skills to now you can visualize a shot because you have the skills to do it. So remember that. You've got to first develop the skills. Like I've got to develop the skill to chip a golf ball, to pitch it, to hit a lob. And then I can back into the shot I see. And then the most important thing, commit. You see it, you have your technique, and then you commit to it. You don't get over it and go, I should be hitting a different shot or a different club or whatever. You know, like I think it's a great strategy practice to like, I'm going to take 3 clubs and I'm going to go to the same pin. I'm hitting 3 different shots. Tour players can, you know, Seve Ballesteros used to take a 3-iron and hit different shots whether around the green. You're learning face control. So my point is that commitment is like the most important thing. Whether you decide I'm going to chip it or I'm going to pitch it or I'm going to lob, commit. Right?
And we'd always have you committed to the wrong shot rather than uncommitted to the right shot.
Right.
At Porzak Golf, we take a lot of pride in having developed some of the best and most consistent golf swings on the planet. We do this through simplicity. Our Full Swing Masterclass will take you on a step-by-step, easy-to-understand process on how to get your golf swing better than ever. Join the many before you who've utilized our Full Swing Masterclass to take their games to the next level and beyond.